City Dance is a nonprofit arts organization that presents professional dance companies across Washington, D.C. and trains young dancers for professional careers.
We have 550 students at our school, and we are training them for professional careers in dance.
And it's just a tremendous amount of customer information. And when we're growing, we want to be able to just focus on our programs and our artistry. And what was happening is that we were having to spend too much time focusing on how to track and manage all of our information. And we've ended up using lots of different technology solutions for many different problems, and it's become somewhat piecemeal. And it was very difficult to manage all of our information. And so I went looking for a solution, something that would be one solution that would integrate all of our technology needs. And I found Zoho.
Before we had Zoho, I was spending about half of each day doing data entry and reconciliation of contact records across about 3 different pieces of software. Now, with Zoho CRM, I'm able to keep all of my customer information up to date in one place.
So if I have a single customer in Zoho CRM, I can also build a customized solution to track information about that customer in Zoho Creator. I can also see invoices and payments in Zoho Books. I can send out emails via Zoho Campaigns, and all that information, all the touch points of that customer are all stored and visible to me and my staff in one place.
Before using Zoho Books, I had to use about 3 pieces of technology in order to send students their schedules for the upcoming year, track their enrollments, and track their payments. With Zoho Books, I'm able to do this all in one place and have it tied directly back to Zoho CRM. When I'm creating a new piece of choreography, I have many parts and sections that I then pull together into one piece. Essentially, this is the same way that I work when I'm building new solutions in Creator and CRM.
The first Zoho app that I used was Creator, and I could not believe how easy it was to use. And I probably built 5 or 6 solutions within a week or so.
I'm a choreographer. I'm an artist. I never knew I would be able to become a programmer overnight with Zoho.
And it's just phenomenal to have everything integrated. I now know what classes are full. I'm able to track all of our correspondence with each of our parents and each of our customers. We never had insight like that into our business before. I feel like I could double, triple in size, and Zoho would be right there. The Zoho apps that we use for our business are Zoho Creator, CRM, Books, Campaigns. Really, we use them all. And that's what I think the beauty of Zoho is that it integrates all of the different software that a business needs to run. And I would say about 80% of the business is running on Zoho. And I really look forward to getting 100% of the business running on Zoho.
That was a beautiful video, isn't it? I've seen it 1,000 times and it still feels so fresh to me. So hey, hi everybody, welcome back to Zoho Live. I am Vanati and I'm going to be speaking to Sarah Beam today, who who is the CEO and founder of Virago Ventures, which is a consultancy firm that helps businesses do their sales better. And Sarah herself has been in the sales domain for over 10 years now. She started off as a sales representative to become a sales executive, and now the sales director, of course. And her specialty in particular is sales enablement. So we're going to be talking a lot about sales enablement today in this session. Come join us. Hey, Sarah, there you are.
Hi. Hey,
Hi,
hello.
how
Yeah,
are
that video was so nice.
you? Yeah, I know. I love it. And I love City Dance for using us. They are actually extensively using a lot of Zoho's products. And that's a totally different topic for a different day, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah, I know it is like, I should say good morning, actually. The sun is like just set there and it is setting down in my part of the world. And thank you for being gracious to doing it this early in the morning. Tell us what's the time there?
It is 5:01 a.m.
Oh my God, man, you must be a morning person.
I actually am. I much prefer just waking up early. I'm just looking at this as, a way to get my day jump started.
I know. I'm a morning person too, like 9 a.m. kind of morning person.
Yeah. You're like, now it's 5 a.m. Yeah,
I know.
I woke up around 3:30, so it's okay.
That's amazing. Sarah, I have so many interesting things to talk to you about today. And I love the topic itself of the session, which is like happy sales teams make happy companies. It's actually as simple as that. But probably, like, we all know that for a company to be happy, obviously their sales teams will have to meet their targets. But the process of meeting the sales target, especially when it is like the mid of the month or little over the mid of the month, like 25th of a month, and then you have no more resources, you've already probably almost drained your pipeline and stuff, but then there is this enormous pressure of meeting the target, and that's not going to put anybody in a happy place. Tell us, how can sales teams expect to be happy in the first place?
It's a loaded question. But for sure, sales performance is a very, it's generally measured by, a few variables. So, number of customers acquired, revenue generated, customers retained, that's typically what salespeople their performance is based on. However, these variables are really just the outcome of, all of the hours of work. And, it's not really painting the full picture of everything that your sales team is having to do in order to get that, end result. So, I think a happy sales team just feels appreciated for their work, and they're not just a number. So you're looking at more than just like, okay, how many customers did you bring in? You're also appreciating them and acknowledging, the work that they did to get to that number. So, all the calls that were made, all the emails that were sent, the Zoom meetings that were had, and a happy sales team also feels empowered, to go out and sell your products and services. So, in order for them to feel empowered, you have to really equip them with the tools and the resources and the support that they need in order to, really succeed and hit their goals. So, and then also, they have to understand what's expected of them. So, they have to understand, what are those targets? What are those goals? How am I going to get there? And, sales enablement can really help play a role in all that.
Amazing. Sarah, you spoke a lot about, I 100% agree when you say that sales is not just about that eventual number that you're going to meet, but it's also about the work that they put in, the efforts that has gone into it, as you said, the number of Zoom calls and meetings and the brainstormings and all of things, those things that are involved. And you particularly mentioned about the kind of support that salespeople itself get, that they will have to be encouraged and constantly, and then they will have to be supported with the right kind of tools, probably, and a lot of other things from the team itself. So I think that's where sales enablement comes into picture. So tell us, what exactly is sales enablement? What do we mean when we say sales enablement?
Right. So sales enablement is just the act of implementing strategies, tools, and processes that will continuously increase the productivity and effectiveness of your sales system. So, using calculated and ongoing processes, supplying your team with, content that they need, training, technology, just to effectively engage customers. So I like to think of sales enablement not so much about sales, but more so about the customer and how your sales team is able to, articulate to them why your product or service is the best offer for them. So, giving them the proper, sales and marketing assets. What kind of things are we sending out? What kind of conversations are being had on phone calls? What's being said on emails? Technology also plays a really big piece in this puzzle because, with so many teams working remote, you have to have the ability, that your team's able to access the information that they need, at the time that they need it. So, ongoing and cohesive training is also a very important aspect to the whole sales enablement plan, because that's just, further equipping your team to feel really empowered and informed on what they're selling.
Right. And Sarah, I think it kind of goes without saying that we live in such challenging times in terms of the economy, particularly. And it is also a time when businesses across the world are finding it hard to meet their sales numbers. So tell us, how exactly can sales enablement come into play here and sort of alleviate this situation?
Yeah, I mean, not only is the economic times changing, the market's constantly changing, conditions are constantly changing. Every country is different. Everybody is kind of experiencing this in a different way. Even, every state is experiencing this differently. So, not only that, but you're also dealing with competition being really high because, your customers are very informed, and they have lots of options, and they have all of those options, at their fingertips every day on the computer. They can just go in and figure out, like, what do I want to buy? What are the reviews? What are people saying? So those customers are just easily influenced by more and more people to have more options every day. So, there's a lot going against your sales team right now. It can be very hard and, demoralizing sometimes. And you want to keep those talented salespeople around because, they can be really, really rare, and they're a really valuable resource, especially right now. So sales enablement will just kind of help the sales productivity. It increases customer alignment and customer retention, and it drives revenue. And then your sales team not only feels like they have the resources they need, but they also feel like they're winning a little bit, even if it's a little win, even if it's just, somebody who they haven't talked to for a while actually responded to their email.
Right.
It doesn't have to just be a sale. It can be something little too. So, so yeah.
Yeah. And where do you think do businesses or companies miss out on sales enablement? And I mean, what are the things that come in the way of sales enablement that they don't focus on it?
So there's quite a few areas, and I think for small businesses and startup environments, it's very easy for some of this stuff to kind of just, get forgotten or, get put on the back burner. We'll deal with that later. But, ongoing and cohesive training is definitely an easily forgotten aspect, particularly in those smaller environments. There's, so many moving pieces and processes change so quickly. It can be difficult to keep everybody effectively trained and updated on everything all the time, So, equipping your team with as much knowledge as possible, but also, not just knowledge around, the products or the services that you're selling, but, also talking about, the knowledge around your industry, what's happening in the, market conditions, what's happening, with that, what's happening with your competition. That's something else that you also definitely have to pay attention to when you're training your team. How are they able to kind of like sell against their competition? What does your product have over theirs? Company knowledge is also something that's really important because that'll just help your sales team to have conviction in your company and the product that you're selling so that they go out and, try to sell it with enthusiasm. So, so I think all of that kind of stuff is something that's really important, is just, constantly training and informing your team about, not only your products, but also like what's going on in the marketplace and what's happening with your competition. And then are they easily able to access that information and, use it when they're in those sales conversation? Like, it's not just having it, but are you able to use it, properly? So yeah, I think the biggest piece for sales enablement with me is just that training and that support. I think sales teams really need that.
Right. That's beautifully said. And that sounds like a lot of work also, Sarah, because apart from just meeting the numbers, doing a market analysis and having a really good understanding of the customers and understanding your competitors' strength and weakness, all of these are really a lot of work. And Zoho has a lot of small and medium-sized companies, especially the growing companies. And one of the challenges in these companies is they're always pressed for resources. Probably the one that does the marketing is also partly doing sales. And, I think you will understand, you have worked with a lot of SMEs yourself. So what is the sales? Is this going to be a team when we talk about sales enablement? Is there going to be a dedicated sales enablement team? Who takes care of it? Is it that sales side a team, or is it the marketing department? And how exactly can sales enablement still be put to play even when a growing company is pressed for resources?
As you're growing and just starting the process of improving these workflows and, improving your various platforms, it's a great opportunity, as you're small and you're growing, now is a great opportunity to do those things, to try to put some of those, foundations and processes in place. However, it can be difficult to, bring on a whole new person to just handle all of this. So, it doesn't necessarily have to be its own team or even its own person. While that's great if you're able to do that, but having a sales enablement plan and enablement strategy, you can work with multiple people, within your company. It doesn't necessarily need to fall on just one person's shoulders. That could be too much, but, typically with most sales enablement responsibilities will fall under the head of sales or the sales manager. And then, some other responsibilities could also fall into marketing or another department. So really that's a hard question to answer because it's going to look different for everyone. Something you can do, I think is good to start off, is work with a consultant who has, experience with setting up sales processes, because what they can do is they could just take a look at, what are your sales assets? What are the scripts? What are some stuff that you're using? How is your team structured? And they could, either work with you to improve or just provide some insights to give you some specific things that you can do to improve. Because I think it's difficult to know, what's really right for you. You might have a sales manager who's just too bogged down. I don't necessarily think a sales manager should be a CRM admin. I think those are kind of like two very different roles, but sometimes in a startup, you have to wear multiple hats. So, I think it's just good to have, not necessarily think of sales enablement as a role, but more so think of it as a strategy for your business.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. That's an incredible point. Sales enablement to be thought of as a strategy instead of as a role or as a team's work is really a good thing. And as you said, yes, consultants who specialize in this domain might just be able to come up or draft a good strategy in place just by seeing what their sales goals are going to be. And with that said, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, which is, can sales enablement help businesses or teams close more deals? If so, the even more important question is, how do we know that? How can we measure that?
Yeah. And I think that's kind of a hard question too, because I think sales, so the answer is yes, but there's some asterisks to that. So, ensuring that your sales team has the tools and the resources and materials they need will have a measurable impact on their ability to close more deals. However, we do have human behavior and, things that ultimately play a role, and things that are beyond your sales team's control. So, you can give your team all the tools that they need, and something insane could happen, or they could not use the tools properly, so the same goes for technology. You could have a CRM system in place, but if your data isn't accurate, then that system might actually be hindering your team more than it is helping it. So I think it's really about, like, yes, it can. However, if it's a strategy that, like, everybody has buy-in and everybody agrees and everybody has responsibility, and in terms of measuring it, that's also kind of difficult, because typically with sales, there's a lot of different variables that go into that number. Your end revenue, you might have multiple, this one client might get touched by multiple marketing initiatives, but then, the way that they actually end up closing the sale is just completely different. So there's so many different things that play a role in that end number, but I think you can measure the efforts in a variety of ways with sales enablement. So one example being, like, tracking the sales assets that you're sending out. So, if your team's sending out maybe like PDFs or brochures, looking at how many of those closes may be coming from those, or also, posting the sales assets online on your website or something, and seeing what's getting the most clicks, what's getting the most engagement, and sending that out. So I think conversion rate and revenue number, hitting that target is obviously a measure. Like, if you're doing all these things and that's growing, then obviously you're doing a good job. But you can also look at some of those other smaller, really specific things that you're doing. So, like, how are your assets actually, doing when you send it out? Is it mattering, or is it not mattering? Because if not, then you could just make something else that does work better. So yeah.
I agree, and it is a great thing to be able to measure the efforts that sales team put into, because ultimately that's what matters. I think that's how even we started off this discussion. It's not just the end numbers, just focus on the efforts also and encourage the team for it. And I think you also mentioned that in sales enablement, apart from the coaching and the training and the other content resources that are involved, technology does play a crucial part, you said. Can you take us through in detail as to how technology helps enable sales, and what are the ways in which technology can play to help us measure these sales efforts put by the sales team, Sarah?
So yeah, I think right now, and especially in today's time, it's almost impossible to have a strong sales enablement focus or strategy without the right technology to go along with it.
Right.
Workforces are now scattered, so it's important to be able to securely share and access information when needed. I think a CRM is definitely like the number one sales enablement tool that you want to get, depending on which CRM system you use. They store your customer information in a centralized location. Your team can access it whenever needed. It's imperative for the reporting as well, because not only does it report your sales, but it reports all of those efforts that your team is making. So calls that are being made, emails that are being sent, and then you can link up your, video chat with it, all kinds of stuff. Your marketing campaigns can feed into it, ensuring that you could list all of your most up-to-date sales content in the documents, and then your team has easy access to it. So I think, technology plays a huge role, but it's also that piece that kind of brings all these teams together. Especially like a marketing and a sales team, they're able to kind of work off the same group of leads. They're able to see what kind of marketing campaigns are going out. So, but a CRM is important, but it's also important that you have a CRM that gives you different sales insights. And it's not just a customer management system, but it's also giving you, those different tools that you can help to be more successful, like, letting you know when an email was opened. That was huge for me. Like, as a salesperson, like, when you're sending out emails, like, you're not getting people responding, but if they're opening it, then, there's somebody there. So it's like, keep trying. So, it's just little bits of motivation that kind of help. And a lot of CRMs, come with the gamification, so you can like make a game out of like everything, which I know some salespeople just don't think it's a waste of time, but like, it makes things more fun. And it makes sales teams more happy. So
beautiful. And Sarah, I mean, are there a few business verticals that might have to focus more on their sales enablement strategies? Particularly, I think I'm talking about B2B companies, which involve selling a complex solution or a complex product, when compared to a B2C company that's selling probably like a product that doesn't need more of a or user education when it comes to sales. Or do you generally have you noticed any trend where this particular business vertical will definitely have to focus primarily on sales enablement over the others?
Well, I think a sales enablement strategy can just benefit any type of company, regardless if it's B2C or B2B, because, I've worked with companies across a variety of industries, from consumer products to IT services providers, nonprofits, and most of them all have the same issues, which are inconsistencies with onboarding and training, as well as the lack of internal processes and the access to store everything in one location. So it's like everyone's kind of like just like scattered. So, sales enablement is just about empowering your sales team, whatever they need to be successful. So I think all companies can benefit from, having their sales team have all they need to succeed, but that's going to look different for company to company. I think even a B2C company now, where you might have more customers, you still would have learned more about those customers. So you can still give them a personalized experience, because, now your customers have so many options. They have so many providers they can choose from, and the options are right in front of you all the time. So, competition is big. So, a personalized and making people feel not like they're just a customer definitely goes a long way. So, a sales enablement process will help you, keep in touch with those customers, like, keep the communication going. If they haven't ordered for a while, you could, do a drip campaign that gets them going again, so I think it can benefit any company with any industry, especially now, just as things are changing, like,
that's something I agree. And for those of our listeners who are watching this right now, Sarah, if they haven't already had a sales enablement process per se in place with clarity, where do you want them to start with, and how would you want them to approach that?
It's a great question. First off, get your team's input. So, talk to your sales team. Start by asking them, how are you feeling? Do you feel like you have the tools? Do you feel like you have what you need to be successful? If the answer is yes, that's great. I would still probably dig a little deeper, because there's probably some things that you could still do to help them. But, chances are they'll say, no, here's some things that we could do, better. So ask specifically, what are those things that they need? And then also ask them, how is it going to help them? Because there's a lot of times where you might think you need something, but then, just because you might hear of your sales rep at another company that is offering this, and you might think, oh, I want to offer that, but it might not make sense for your, for that company. So, it's important to get to the root cause of, like, how is this asset really going to help you move the needle? And then it's important to get their opinion, because when you bring in new processes and you bring in new expectations, or, things like that, it can kind of make a sales team maybe feel a little like, oh, what are you doing? So you want to make sure that you have their buy-in, and that they also understand that this new process or this new system that you're bringing in is just going to make their jobs easier, and it's going to help them make more money. So, talk to them, do an assessment yourself, look into how each of your platforms are working together. I think that's a big one. If your team is happening to maybe enter an order in on this platform, but then go over here and log it, and then go back over here and send it out, and then go back over here, so if they're happening to kind of do all these different things, and they're spending most of their day doing, not revenue generating activities, they're not making calls, they're sitting here doing data entry, you can probably make some improvements, if your assets aren't where they are, so there's different things that you can kind of look at, and then just kind of make a plan. Like, what is the out of this list of 10 things I need to do, what is the one that's going to move me the most first, and start there. It's like, because maybe if you improve your platforms, that might take away 4 other issues, because, your team might be saying, I can't access what I need, and I can't find the right information. So then you get a new CRM and you fix your stuff, and then they're able to access that. And then that fixed 2 problems with 1,
Right.
So I think really it's just doing an assessment and just, talking to your team, seeing how you can help.
Right. Amazing. And Sarah, I think we all are familiar with this classic problem with the divide between sales and marketing. I mean, always sales thinks marketing isn't doing well. The campaign did not fit so many leads, and then it's like such a no efforts are being made and resources are not being provided. And then marketing thinks sales is just not converting enough. Sales is not just bringing more customers. And can sales enablement sort of come in and fix this gap, this classic gap between sales and marketing? Because you also mentioned about how the sales shouldn't be focusing on non-revenue generating activities for the most part of their time, and that's where usually in most companies marketing team comes in and plays a role. So how can we get this tension started?
Exactly. I mean, I felt it when I was a sales rep working with different marketing teams. There's always this kind of it's interesting because I don't think you can have one without the other. Sales needs marketing, marketing needs sales. You need each other. So I think right now it's you have to build these teams together. So, bridging that gap and there's a debate when it comes, I think also when it comes to inbound leads on some companies, because a lot of times those inbound leads are generated through marketing department efforts, right? Maybe forms or drip campaigns or different things like that. So when those come in, I think the marketing team probably really wants to see those leads do well. It's they put a lot of time in that form and that landing page, and they want those leads to do well. So when they come in and then the sales team is like, oh yeah, cool, it's an inbound lead, blah, 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 blah. I'll just worry about my other lead. Then that's where the friction comes from. So, I think it's about figuring out having them in the same system, having them in meetings together, putting them in there. So then, the, upselling new customers and new customer acquisition is also, like you were saying, driven by content and messaging, which marketing is typically responsible for creating. But so it's important to unify sales to make sure that those messaging is cohesive and on the same page. And, a sales enablement strategy can help you do that because, your marketing team can draft up a campaign and then your sales team can see it go out in real time, and they can see who gets it. They can see who opens it, and they can reach out right away. And then marketing can start seeing their efforts pay off. And then, so I think it can definitely bridge the gap. It's not the only thing. Got to have a good team environment, and bring them all together. But, having each team be able to have oversight on what the other one's doing, it's helpful, because then it doesn't go into a he said, she said type of thing where it's well, because then if there's no proof, then, that's what it comes down to. So you can say yes, these amount of leads come in. This is who we reached out to. This is why it didn't work, make it more of a, a team effort. Look at it as a sales and marketing, just team that together you guys can blow up the company. But when you're divided, it doesn't work that well.
I know. I agree. And I think particularly the issue or inefficiency between sales and marketing working together comes with the lack of communication, the necessary and the needed communication, like you mentioned. I mean, bring them together in a room. Maybe that's where the strategizing part also comes in, where you make it a practice and you make it a doctrine that both of these teams does meet at least for so many times in a week, or for this many number of campaigns. If the campaign is drafted and after it goes out, just come have a meet and sit together and discuss about it and all of those things. That's pretty wonderful. And as a closing note, Sarah, I want you to explain the name Virago Ventures, the name Virago particularly, because you had mentioned that Virago means a powerful woman, a warrior-like woman. And I was super impressed by it. And you also mentioned about how you were in many of the companies that you worked with, you were the only sales woman there. So tell us a bit about that, because I resonate with it too. I have been a salesperson as well. And I have also been the only salesperson in the environment that I have worked in. So I would love to hear more about Virago.
Okay, yeah. So I actually have to give the credit to my husband. He actually found the word. Yeah, it means heroine or warlike woman. And then ventures means like a journey, like a unknown journey or something like that. So both of them just went really well together because I've been in sales for 10 years. I think one of my first sales jobs, I was like the only girl out of like 35. There was like 3 girls and most of them were all guys. So, and then in roles where I've been a higher level, like sales executive, I've been like literally the only girl on the executive team. So I don't know. I really just wanted my company to kind of be about like, helping empower women in sales and in business. Just because I know it can feel really lonely. Because like sales is also like, primarily more male and guys don't really get their feelings hurt as much. Like, it's like you have to really develop a thick skin as a woman in sales. And it took me a long time to develop that thick skin. And I used to take things really personally and, I just like, it was really hard in the beginning. I used to come home crying and like, like if I didn't do a good job, like I just really wanted to succeed. So, I just want to kind of help if I can, like some of those, women in sales, especially younger ones, because I think sales is a great opportunity, like, especially when you're just starting out. Like, honestly, I kind of got thrown into it. I graduated college. I needed a job and I found a job selling cell phones. And then I've just kind of stuck with sales since. But at first I hated it. Like, I just hated it. I didn't like the competition. I wasn't very good at it. Like, it just made me nervous talking to people. But I just kind of grew to love it. So it's kind of one of those things that I want to also help other women kind of like avoid that, like 5 or 6, 10 years of just like kind of struggle and get to the good part. Because there's a lot of good parts to it.
I know. And what are the few things that you think you personally learned from that person who joined? Who took her first sales role? You said you were a lot scared as well, and you weren't that good in the beginning. To now you're being here, like you're the CEO of a company that helps other companies do their sales better. So what are some of the core competencies that you think you have learned which would help the others also?
I think, find people that support you. I would try to find some type of mentor no matter what role I was in. So, it may not even be your direct report. It could be a peer, like at my one of my jobs, my supervisor when I became a supervisor, we became peers, but he was always like my mentor. Like, I always just looked up to him. So, I think it's important that you find people that you're able to connect with and that get you and understand you. And, because not everyone does. So find mentors, find good friends. But then also, sales is a long process. So don't get so caught up on the outcome. I think I used to always just like, I have to get the close. But it stressed me out too much. So just focus on this journey, like get to know your customer, look for all the little wins. So if your customer answered the phone, that's a win. If they opened an email, that's a win. If they responded and said, no, not right now, that's still a win, so finding little ways to kind of like just keep you going and like just keep you motivated. And then I think finally just don't take anything personally, just like realize that like, if somebody says no or if they're not interested, it's not necessarily anything to do with you. And it also may not be a full no, just might be a no for now. So just always keep that relationship. Just know it's a long-term game. Long-term game.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Sarah. I had a wonderful time.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time talking to you.
Same here. And I learned a lot of things today too. So thanks so much for coming. I hope to talk to you some other time.
Yeah, me too. Yes, please. Anytime.
Thank you. And viewers, if you want to connect with Sarah, you have her coordinates here. And if you have any more questions on this or on any other topic that we covered previously in Zoho Live, you can write to the coordinates that we have provided right here in the banner. We will also be posting them on the comment section. Until then, we'll see you next time with another interesting topic. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.